Stunned by this revelation, Haiji Dao stares in disbelief. He stammers, asking if the person fighting that monster is really just a new recruit. Behind him, the gluttonous captain confirms it's true, as the rest of the group watches nervously. Looking sweaty and nervous, the gluttonous captain explains that the man's name is Lu Sheng, a martial artist they picked up from the Yamu planet region. The captain mentally tries to justify the situation, telling himself that since this is Lu Sheng's first time on a battlefield, he's technically a recruit, despite his insane power. Silently, Haiji Dao turns back to the fight, his eyes fixed on the battle to see this unbelievable warrior for himself. Back on the battlefield, Lu Sheng unleashes a furious barrage of punches. His fists become a blur of light, relentlessly pummeling the purple beast. As he dominates the fight, a confident, predatory grin spreads across Lu Sheng's face. Watching from afar, Haiji Dao can't help but wonder if that is really the man's name. Lu Sheng shoots his hand out and grabs the purple beast by its head, violently halting all of its movements. Looking down at the trembling creature with cold disappointment, Lu Sheng tells it that without its massive body, it's actually quite weak. Deciding the fight is now pointless, he resolves to end it immediately. The beast lets out a terrified scream as Lu Sheng raises his glowing fist high into the air. Without a shred of mercy, he brings his fist down, unleashing a massive pillar of lightning and energy that completely engulfs his enemy. The resulting shockwave is immense, while Haiji Dao stands firm against the blast, exclaiming in awe. The gluttonous captain and the others are nearly blown off their feet by the sheer force of the final attack. As the dust from the explosion begins to settle, the chaotic atmosphere of the battlefield finally calms. Amidst the settling pink dust, Lu Sheng stands over the remains of his foe. He casually holds the severed head of the level 13 beast like a trophy, remarking with a bored expression that it wasn't anything special. Deciding not to let the beast's remains go to waste, Lu Sheng waves his hand. He begins to condense its residual energy, planning to form it into a crystal. However, just as he's about to finish, something strange happens. His sharp gaze suddenly softens as an overwhelming wave of sleepiness hits him. Unable to fight the sudden exhaustion, Lu Sheng's eyes close, and a swirl of pink and blue energy begins to form around him. His body, reacting to the immense energy he both used and absorbed, drifts into unconsciousness. Watching from a distance, Haiji Dao's eyes widen with a startled expression as he realizes what's happening to Lu Sheng. The rest of the group can only watch in confusion as Lu Sheng is completely encased in a massive cocoon of swirling blue energy, which now floats silently above the battlefield. Haiji Dao cautiously approaches the cocoon, sensing the terrifyingly dense energy shell around it. He realizes in awe that Lu Sheng has just achieved a breakthrough and is now evolving right in the middle of the battlefield. Taking charge, Haiji Dao uses his own power to levitate the cocoon. He orders the stunned survivors, including Saya and Tang Dun, to follow him, declaring they must get back to the base immediately to protect Lu Sheng during this vulnerable state. For the survivors, the journey back feels completely surreal. Floating through the silent void of space, the recent battle feels like a strange, unforgettable dream. However, the weary and injured red-haired officer knows it was all too real. She thinks that if it weren't for their injuries and their missing comrades, she'd have a hard time believing any of it actually happened. Haiji Dao leads the way through the void, transporting Lu Sheng's massive cocoon and the rest of the group with his power. After some time, he finally announces that they can stop, as they've arrived at their destination. The group comes to a halt before a massive structure, with Lu Sheng's cocoon floating silently beside him. Haiji Dao introduces them to their new sanctuary, the base of the different sky battlefield. Before them, a massive, futuristic gate slides open, revealing a sprawling high-tech city bathed in bright, welcoming light. The sense of relief is overwhelming. Saya bursts into tears of joy, unable to believe they're finally safe, while Tang Dun cheers, celebrating their survival. While the others celebrate, Haiji Dao remains composed as a voice calls out his name. A man in a white uniform and a futuristic visor approaches them. He bows respectfully, welcoming Haiji Dao back from his mission. The man glances at the survivors and the strange cocoon, noting with a smile that it's good to see so many of them made it back this time. Haiji Dao wastes no time. He immediately issues a strict order to have guards posted around Lu Sheng's floating cocoon, ensuring that his evolution is not disturbed under any circumstances. With that handled, Haiji Dao transforms into a streak of yellow light and shoots off towards the upper levels of the massive space station. He zooms through a series of mechanical gates, entering a high-security hangar where other personnel salute him as he flies past. He finally descends toward a landing platform situated in front of a colossal, intricately carved dragon's head. He touches down with a heavy thud, his expression serious and focused. Waiting for him on the platform is a female officer with purple hair and pointed ears, casually enjoying a lollipop. She greets him with a relaxed smile, remarking that she's surprised to see him back so soon. She then bluntly asks if he's back early because all the recruits were already dead by the time he got there. Jae-do gives her a confused look, not because of her morbid question, but because of her odd choice of words. He asks her where she picked up that kind of slang. The girl just giggles, replying that it's the latest trend. Jae-do's expression turns serious once more. He tells her the recruits are safe, but a small incident occurred that he needs to report immediately. He then asks if the Stellar Supreme Commander is available. The girl points inside, mentioning the commander is in but might be busy. Jae-do, growing impatient, tells her to announce him immediately, insisting that his report is urgent. Just then, the sound of a notification from his device catches Jae-do's attention. He glances at the holographic display on his wrist, and his eyes go wide in disbelief. He stammers to himself, unable to comprehend what he's seeing. The data is from Lu Sheng's cocoon. A cold sweat breaks out on his forehead as he realizes it's still growing continuously, a phenomenon he has never seen or even heard of before. His thoughts are interrupted by Masha, the purple-haired girl, who waves her hand energetically. She tells him that the Stellar Commander is waiting and he should hurry inside. As Masha gestures for him to enter, a set of massive, ornate mechanical doors slowly slides open. Jae-do steps into a colossal palace-like hall. The ceilings are impossibly high, and his footsteps echo in the vast, empty space. The sheer scale of the room alone speaks to the incredible importance of the person who resides here. He walks forward, then stops and bows respectfully, addressing the figure before him as Lord Mokoto. The narrative explains the power structure. Within the 100 Great Star Sectors, there are 2 stellar commanders. One oversees the various regions of the universe, while the other, Mokoto, is tasked with guarding the different sky battlefield. Finally, the commander is shown. Sitting on a massive throne is a giant, muscular being with 4 arms. In the palm of each hand is a single, unblinking eye. This is Mokoto, a level 14 martial artist who has mastered the domain of laws, making him one of the supreme powers in the cosmos. The Stellar Commander, Mokoto, looks down at him with a stern expression, acknowledging that he has come to make a report. Mokoto's deep voice fills the hall as he notes that Jae-do has only just returned from his mission. Looking serious, and with a bead of sweat on his brow, Jae-do confirms that his report is directly related to that mission. Intrigued by his subordinate's unusually tense demeanor, Mokoto asks him to explain what has him so worked up. In response, Jae-do activates a holographic projection from his device. He begins to explain the gravity of the situation. The enemy that attacked the recruits was a minion of the Lord of Oblivion. He goes on to admit that even he was affected by its curse, which warped his perception of time and caused him to arrive late. Mokoto's face tightens into a frown. Hearing about the delay, he immediately assumes the worst, asking if Jae-do is admitting that he failed the mission. Jae-do quickly denies this. He reports that, on the contrary, the recruit team not only made it back, but they did so with far more survivors than anyone expected. As Mokoto listens with growing surprise, Jae-do reveals the most shocking part. He explains that there was a hidden expert among the recruits, a level 13 master who had comprehended the law of thunder. This mysterious warrior killed the minion all by himself, ending the entire battle before Jae-do even got there. Mokoto is left completely speechless, finding it impossible to believe that an expert who had mastered the rare law of thunder was hiding amongst a group of mere recruits.